Hey guys, it's Sean O'Connell, the managing editor here at Cinemablend, back with another recap of WandaVision, the finale this time, the last episode in this 9-episode season. Plenty to dive into with the culmination of this first live-action full series on Disney Plus that Marvel Studios is rolling out. We're going to dive into all of the things that happened and what we think they mean for the MCU moving forward. So that means spoilers. Naturally, we're going to have to talk at length about everything that happens in episode number 9 of WandaVision. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure that you bail out of this video right now. Come back after you have seen it and listen to our analysis of the episode. If you are here on our YouTube channel, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on your notifications, because we're going to be rolling into the Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki and all the other Marvel shows, and you're going to want to make sure that you follow our analysis of these episodes. Okay, you're here with me, which means we watch it together. Let's have a conversation about reality versus expectations. I'm seeing a decent amount of people on social media after this finale complaining about the number of things that they wanted to happen that didn't happen. And it's hard. I get it. Like, there are so many cool theories that swirled around WandaVision in the conversation, especially because of the way that it was a weekly rolled out show. We didn't binge it, and so it gave us the opportunity after every single episode to really get into the fine-tuned details and talk about what might happen. And so just to go down a quick list of the things that we all hoped would pay off in the finale but didn't. The multiverse. Never got into the multiverse. Quicksilver was just another guy named Boner, which was a weird joke, and he just happened to look like Evan Peters, who was the Quicksilver from the Fox universe. It's a weird choice by Marvel, man. It's a deliberate thing to include it and then to not have it pay off in the way that fans want it to pay off is strange. That it just happened to be the neighbor or someone who lived in Westview. Mephisto never ended up being Mephisto. It was Agatha Harkness, and it was Wanda. It was a combination of the two. It was both of them sort of using their powers, one to overcome her grief and one to sort of siphon this Scarlet Witch power off of herself. But it was not a deal with Mephisto to live with Vision forever. And Mephisto was not any of the cicadas that were showing up in the thing, and that didn't play out. My favorite theory, which I really thought was going to pay off, the birth of mutants. No mutants. Well, hold on, maybe. We're going to talk about consequences later, and I still think that the people in the town were deeply manipulated by what Wanda did, and we'll talk about that later. But we didn't get a confirmation of the existence of mutants in the MCU now at this point. So, yeah, that didn't pan out. Who is Jimmy Woo's person in witness protection program? Still don't know. That was the storyline that brought Jimmy Woo into the thing. He was coming to Westview to investigate somebody who he had placed there. Didn't find out who that was. Magneto never showed up. People thought maybe Michael Fassbender or Sir Ian McKellen might show up. Oh, that was a good one. Paul Bettany really got fans with a character that I wanted to work with my entire life, or an actor that I wanted to act opposite. Expert trolling level, Paul Bettany. You got everybody talking and then sat back and watched the madness unfurl. And so Doctor Strange being the last one that didn't pan out, no appearance by Doctor Strange. A clear reference to his theme song, which we'll get into with the MCU teases a little bit later, but a ton of fan speculation that was never part of the overall plan of this show. Now, does that make the show a failure? No, not on any level. I mean, you still have to look at what it accomplished in the totality of its 9-episode run. It was a phenomenal, in my opinion, Wanda and Vision story, and picked up and told what happened to Wanda post-Endgame. Great way to explore that character and get to our next section, which is the birth of the Scarlet Witch. We have this character now, this significant, character in the MCU who now has reached her full potential, or, is at least evolved into the next level of what she is going to become. Scarlet Witch costume is unbelievably great. It's cool to see a realized modern version of the spoof one that we saw in the Halloween episode. Seeing Wanda at the end of the episode reading through the book and coming to terms with the rules, like just how quickly she picked up the hex a bit that she stole from Agatha and was able to use it in the totality of the hex and the bubble, and make sure with the runes, the way that she was able to pick that up really fast. You just know she's going to be an incredibly quick learner. And we now have the Scarlet Witch in our universe. We also have the Vision, because once in a great bit of like logical debate instead of a physical fight, which is kind of what Vision should do, the all-white Vision escapes. He's been sort of activated, and he is going to become a little bit more closer to, like, they will say hello to each other again at some point, and it's going to be Vision, who looks like the Ivory Vision, with some more realization of his memories and all that stuff. So this episode got us through a long and emotional journey, the birth of the Scarlet Witch and a revision of the Vision, and I think that's phenomenal. That's a great goal to get to. And yes, all these other things that we kind of hope to see, mutants, the multiverse, Mephisto, Magneto, all the M's, they didn't happen. But that doesn't mean that we can overlook all the things that did occur, including the birth of Monica Rambeau and her new character, her new powers, which we didn't get a name yet, but we're going to get to that in a minute. Let's roll to Consequences. The show didn't shirk the fact that Wanda really messed with some people. And there were some tough scenes when she was getting overwhelmed by the people of Westview, where they are admitting to her that your grief is poisoning us. And, you know, there's a line about, like, heroes don't do this to innocent people. And there's no way to overlook the fact that, similar to what happened in Lagos and similar to what happened in Infinity War, there are consequences for the actions of these heroes and how the public has to suffer at the hands of these superpowered beings. And Wanda made a very selfish decision. You know, she thought that she was keeping the town of Westview safe, but all these people, these actors who, once they broke free from her spell, from her hold, they had real lives and real concerns that had to be addressed. And I like that the show embraced that. I almost wish that it almost leaned a little bit harder into it, because there's some real tragedy happening there. And I don't think that we're done with it yet. The way that Wanda had to almost slink out of Westview with her hood up and endure the stares of the people, like the conversation that she has with Monica, where Monica's like, you know, they're never going to realize what you sacrificed. But they can really hold a grudge against what she did, and I hope that that's a continuation. And the MCU hasn't shied away from exploring that, you know, Sokovia and the Sokovian Accords and Lagos and all the different places where the Avengers have flexed their muscle and innocent people have been affected by it. The MCU tends to drill down into that. So I don't think we're done with the consequences of what happened here. Wanda's actions in this episode have the potential to really ripple through and affect how people perceive superheroes and perceive her specifically. And I'm still holding on to the hope and belief that her putting all those people in the hex did something to them. So we'll see. We'll see how the consequences of WandaVision play out. But no real hint by the end of this episode. No strong arrow pointing to this is what's going to happen. Instead, what the episode did, which brings us to our next section, is deliver emotional closure. This show was always supposed to be a romance on its surface and at its heart. Right from the very beginning, where, you know, the couple that they have over for dinner in their sitcom fictional world is the Hearts. You know, it was always about Wanda coming to terms with her grief and figuring out a way that she can say goodbye to Vision. Because when you think about it, in the timeline of the MCU, she was robbed of that opportunity multiple times. The snap took her away for 5 years. She comes back to realize that the man who caused this pain, or the being that caused this pain, Thanos, is still around. She's not able to actually take him out. It's other people in the MCU who take him out. She tried her best, unfortunately, and now she's got to move forward, and she's got to figure out a way to do it. Well, she broke down severely, created an alternate universe for her to be able to live with Vision, had children as a result of this, but then realized ultimately that it was not meant to be. And it brings us to that really beautiful scene, a truly emotional scene that just showed how great Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany are in these characters. And Vision essentially says, like, I was a voice without a body, then I was a being without a conscience or without memories. I'm paraphrasing here, I'm botching it, but I do love, I kind of jotted this note down, who knows what I might be next. They have the tendency, this relationship has a tendency to evolve through multiple different iterations, and I don't doubt that we're going to see these two again. And the line that's really beautiful, the we'll say hello again as he's fading away, is fantastic. Like, that's the emotional closure that WandaVision promised us. It wasn't all the speculation, it wasn't the fan theories, as much fun as those are. This was an emotional journey with these two characters who, personally, I grew to love even more, even deeper. And I'm thankful for the show for that reason. However, let's get to our final point, which is, what does all this mean for the MCU moving forward? Of course, we're Marvel Studios fans. Of course, we are dialed into this to see, like, where's going next. And this was the first episode that had not one, but two mid-credit sequences setting up two films that'll be coming in the MCU that we know are coming. But I think that they were kind of scenes that were included to catch up casual audiences. Monica Rambeau gets pulled into the theater. She learns that one of the officers that is there on the ground to work with her is a Skrull hiding out, and says that a friend of your mom's wants to speak with you up there, which we assume is space. Now, Monica has a really fascinating backstory because there's a lot of stuff about her that we don't know prior to the snap. There's been indication that she's been in space before, and there's been indication from the first Captain Marvel film that her mother Maria has been in space and has befriended Skrulls and worked alongside them. So maybe the person who wants to speak with Monica is Talos. That's my first guess. I don't know if we've confirmed that Ben Mendelsohn is going to be in Captain Marvel 2, but we know that Tiana Paris is going to be in Captain Marvel 2, and I think that that scene is there to let casual fans know, people who don't follow Cinemablend on a daily basis, and why aren't you reading everything that we write? But we know that Monica Rambeau is going to be a character in Captain Marvel. So is Miss Marvel alongside Brie Larson. So this is setting up like, okay, you're going to see this character again. You've grown to like her and her involvement in S.W.O.R.D., and this is where you're going to see her the next time she pops up in the MCU. We get to the end of the episode, and we get our final mid-credit scene or end-credit scene, and it's Wanda studying the book. It's Wanda figuring out a way to have a representation of herself, a physical representation of herself, peacefully sitting by a lake and making coffee, while she is also in the back studying the book and working her magics and getting better at it. That would be cool and scary enough that the Scarlet Witch is fully realizing the potential of her power, but we also hear a very deliberate call from her kids. And so what can we speculate from that? To me, I read it as Wanda is using her newfound full-on magics to figure out a way to restore, bring back, finally bring to life her two children who she had to say goodbye to through the course of the simulation going away. There's a lot of stuff that you could unlock in that book of magic, and it's all stuff that we don't know about. It's all stuff that she's learning at the same time that we are learning about it. And so are there spells and incantations in that book that could potentially bring her kids back or make her kids organically real? Of course. I mean, I believe that has to be possible for sure. There's multiple times throughout the show when Agatha has said to Wanda, like, you're not familiar, you're not aware yet of how powerful you are or can be, and there's all these things that you're going to have to learn, and so now she's learning them. So I think the pursuit of her kids is going to be something that drives Wanda forward, and it also, so you listen and you hear the Doctor Strange theme song, courtesy of the brilliant Michael Giacchino. We know that Wanda is going to be in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and I'm going to give a hat tip to television editor Nick Venable, who's kind of genius, in that we were discussing the title of the Doctor Strange movie, In the Multiverse of Madness. Now, in the Multiverse of Madness, and not and the Multiverse of Madness, which suggests that Doctor Strange is going to be plunging himself and potentially Wanda into the multiverse in some way, shape, or form. But then he also, Nick pointed this out, and I kind of love this, that Multiverse of Madness is an anagram for mom, M-O-M. And her kids are calling to her, Mom, help us, Mom, we need help. And I wonder if Wanda is going to cause some sort of problems, or maybe just appeal to Doctor Strange to say, help me understand this magic, teach me the ways of this, because as the mom, I want to get my kids back. Kevin Feige has said that, like, pay attention to the title of Doctor Strange. It tells you everything you need to know. So if it's the anagram of mom, Multiverse of Madness is mom, terrific. That's great. I want that. I want that really badly. So a lot of stuff to unpack. Yes, it probably didn't live up to the expectations that fans might have had going into it, but I think the reality of what it accomplished was pretty amazing and truly original. I bought into the emotional consequence of what happened to both the townsfolk and the conclusion, the finale and the farewell that Wanda and Vision shared themselves. Beautiful, beautiful scenes. I dug the MCU teases, and I'm thrilled now that we have the birth of the Scarlet Witch in the MCU. Of course, I want to hear from you guys now. Let me know what you thought about the finale of WandaVision. Again, if you're on our YouTube channel, make sure that you hit subscribe and turn on any notifications. We're going to be doing this for every single episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is going to be starting really soon. Some Anthony Mackie, some Sebastian Stan. I know that those guys have fans out there in the Marvel Universe. And we'll be covering everything that happens in the MCU moving forward with regards to Black Widow and Shang-Chi and the Eternals and Spider-Man 3. It's a really great time to be a Marvel fan. Even though WandaVision has come to a close, there's plenty more to come. And so you're going to want to keep it right here on Cinemablend to make sure that you don't miss any.